Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino, along with Emily Campagno, Piers Morgan, Charlie Hurt, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. President Trump tussling with the liberal media for his big return to 60 Minutes. This is 5 years since his last sit-down, and one major lawsuit settled. It was a news tornado on many fronts, including this exchange on ICE raids.
More recently, Americans have been watching videos of ICE tackling a young mother, tear gas being used in a Chicago residential neighborhood, and the smashing of car windows. Have some of these raids gone too far?
No, I think they haven't gone far enough because we've been held back by the judges, by the liberal judges that were put in by Biden and by Obama.
You're okay with those tactics?
Yeah, because you have to get the people out.
The president doing some of his classic media sparring after he got asked this question on whether the U.S. military is ready to strike targets inside of Venezuela.
And this issue of potential land strikes in Venezuela, is that true?
I don't tell you that. I mean, I'm not saying it's true or untrue, but I wouldn't.
Why would we do it?
I wouldn't be inclined to say that I would do that, but because I don't talk to a reporter about whether or not I'm going to strike.
President Trump also clashing with CBS over the Democrats, going after his political opponents and how he thinks about the job he's doing so far.
We have been acknowledged to have the greatest 9 months. You know, it's 9 months. The greatest 9 months in the history of the presidency. So if I can keep that going, I'll be very happy.
James Comey, John Bolton, Letitia James were all recently indicted. There's a pattern to these names. They're all public figures who have publicly denounced you. Is it political retribution?
You know what? You know who got indicted? The man you're looking at.
November
Schumer is a
15th,
basket
when the troops
case.
don't get a paycheck.
Schumer is a basket case, and he has nothing to lose. He's become, I just left Japan, he's become a kamikaze pilot.
All right, Charlie, the president set me up for this comment perfectly just there because he said, I just got back from Japan. In the way back machine, in June of 2024, Biden went overseas. He went to Europe and he had a meeting. And then he took 12 days off before he had the debate on June 27th with President Trump that basically exposed everything for what it was. President Trump has been in Israel, and then he just got back from an Asia trip, which used to knock me on my butt for a week or so before I could get it together. I think he had a good interview, and if you want to read the entire thing, you can. But he also seemed to get along okay with Nora.
Yeah, and of course, J.D. Vance over the weekend talked about what a curse it is to have to go on these trips as a staffer with President Trump on one of these international trips because he never takes a nap.
He
never sleeps. He sleeps maybe like a couple hours. Nobody knows when. It's like at his desk chair or something like that. And then he's back at it 3 hours later, and nobody can keep up with him. But I loved his answer. I loved all of his answers, but I loved his answer about ICE. It reminds me of Trump's first inaugural address, when he went out there after winning the election in 2016, and he said what you're never supposed to say in Washington, which is, yeah, I ran this campaign, I talked about all these things, and I meant every word of it, and I'm going to do everything I can to get every single one of these things done. And as you remember, the Washington Post said within minutes of that, they posted a story saying that the impeachment proceedings began against him because he's not kidding around. These are issues, you know, what brought him here were the issues. He intends to take them seriously. We focus on how funny he is and some of the more outrageous things that he says. But when it comes to the issues, he's very serious about them. And when it comes to trying to undoing what the Biden administration did for 4 years with open borders, he's not kidding around. He wants to fix that problem.
And I wouldn't say there was a ton of breaking news out of it, Emily, but what it did do is set the Republicans and President Trump on a better course for the week, where the Democrats want him to take the fall for the shutdown. He was driving the news on a Sunday. That was smart.
Yes, I felt like it was this sort of tone-setting mission, to your point, right? That he was coming out of the gate, charging out and demonstrating what leadership looks like. It was such a calm confidence. And I felt like he was sort of stress-testing the establishment media, right? And he doesn't need the outreach. So to me, it was almost like a victory lap. Like he was sort of coming out there on his own terms as a power flex. I mean, saying on their own network, yeah, you had to pay me a lot of money. And 2 policy points, I think it's important with the Venezuela stuff, that sort of deliberate vagueness. That's an important important deterrence tool that we saw in the first administration. And here it's been backed up, obviously, by decision. So I liked that he was vague, because that's not something that he has to share in that regard. It goes a lot further in this moment for him saying, essentially, mess around and find out, and you'll find out when you need to. And then on the border and with ICE, I think that's important to reset the baseline. That him saying, they haven't gone far enough. Like, he's not stooping to the level of hysteria of them enforcing the laws. What he's saying is, now we are back in this climate to enforcing the law, to supporting our law enforcement, to protecting Americans. I won't apologize for it, and there may be more to go. So yeah, I give it an absolute A+, and I think that tone that I talked about sort of shapes. It's, as always, it's me against the institutions. Here are a lot of we's from him about him and the American people and the Republicans going into, hopefully, the end of this shutdown.
Well, speaking of institutions, Piers Morgan is with us.
Well, thank you, Dana. Lovely to see you.
What is the view from across the pond?
Well, I'll tell you what the view was from somebody who's come across the pond to New York and sat and watched it all last night. I watched the edited version on television, then I watched the whole thing. And I was really struck. I texted him to say this. I said, I was really struck by the fact that not only was it enjoyable to watch, unusual for a Trump mainstream media encounter, normally very acrimonious, very adversarial. I thought it was mutually robust, but also it had a civil tone to it. I thought everyone was the winner from that interview. Yeah. That's how presidential interviews ought to be conducted. It's what not happened in his first term. And I always wonder if the mainstream media hadn't been so hostile to Trump because they hated the fact he'd won, if they actually had been like Nora was, I felt last night, more respectful to the office of the presidency, robust in challenging him, but not just going bonkers as they did the first time round, would Trump have been less controversial, adversarial himself? I think he might have been. He's, we've all known him a long time. I've known him nearly 20 years. He's someone, in his book, The Art of the Deal, he says, if you whack me, I'm going to whack you 10 times back, harder. That's his natural pugilist New York style. So I like the fact that last night I watched it, and it was a mutually engaging conversation between people where you didn't feel one hated the other. But also the other, I think, wider point politically, you know where Trump stands on things. There's a real clarity. I always said about the first time he won, if you asked 100 people in the streets of America, give me 5 things Donald Trump stands for, they'd probably be able to tell you. If you asked them what Hillary Clinton stood for, they wouldn't. Same with Biden, same with Kamala Harris. Trump, if you ask me what people in Britain think, there's an interesting poll came out recently that said they're not massively keen on his rhetoric and how he talks and stuff in the UK, but they do like Trumpism. What's that? Fewer wars, fewer taxes, fairer trade, strong border, tough on crime. These are big, big messages, which, as Charlie said, he promised he would do, he's delivering on. There's a clarity to Trumpism, which simply doesn't exist with the Democrats, which is why they are currently, in what we would say in the UK, in the cart.
I remember years ago you told me that you hated that tick, tick, tick sound of 60 Minutes. But I love it because it would mean that was 60 Minutes was on and you said that meant school on Monday.
It just shows you the difference between me and you. That means, oh boy, it's going to be Monday soon. And I'm like, oh God, it's going to be Monday. I didn't see that as an interview. I saw it as a victim offender mediation. You remember, when they take the criminal and the person he robbed, they bring them together. That's restorative justice. Trump's vibe is all of us regarding legacy and traditional media. He's reversing the charges. We all feel this way. Now when he shows up and the media shows up, they have to be on their toes, not you. This is how I feel. I've been interviewed recently. I feel like they owe me something. I want to see their community service. I want to know, until further notice, this entire industry is on probation. The media is like that lazy, terrible student jock that blew off 4 years of classes from 20 to 24. So now they're back. They've lost all privileges, all benefits. They're in the doghouse. They're grounded because of the loss of credibility from the Fine People hoax, Russian collusion, laptop, of course, the biggest scandal of all, which was the Biden brain cover-up. They're under house arrest. They have to do a lot to get us to trust them again. We're hurt. And by the way, Fox is exempt. We fell for none of the hoaxes, and we were mocked for challenging them. I'm surprised that none of us have been poached. Like, why am I not being like pursued to be president of CNN? Right? Don't you think, Dana, that would say, I mean, look at what CBS is doing under Barry Weiss. That is what all the networks should be doing, is like, bring in new blood, get rid of the old corrupt blood. It's a confession and a penance and a promise to repair, all in one thing. You don't have to apologize, just in your actions make something new. I have yet to get a phone call about taking over MSNBC, which they know. I would change.
I would love to see that.
Can you
I'm not
imagine?
saying I'm available. I love Fox.
What would be the first thing you did as president of MS?
Oh my God, it would be 4 hours of dog and poop videos from 8 to 12. That's the prime time poop.
AM or PM? PM?
PM, yes.
Ratings would improve.
All right. They might take you up on that. They might be
Yes.
listening just across the street. All right, ahead, the Barack signal going up. Former President Obama hitting the campaign trail to bail out the Democrats.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.